Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namassami. Okay, so I'd just like to welcome everybody. Sunday afternoon, and this is the coolest place in the monastery right here. It's hot out there, and we've got this Dhamma hall for practicing in that is physically cool, and of course that's a kind of an epithet for the goal of our Buddhist practice or of our Buddhist meditation is to cool the heart. It's the nature of the untrained mind or heart is to get excited, to get agitated, to get stirred up, and to get heated in various ways. And just taking the opportunity to cool, to settle, to allow the mind to be in a place of stability and clarity. So that of course takes some attention and training, but there's not really much of an alternative. We can let our minds be kind of wander all over the place and be confused and scattered, but that doesn't seem like much of an alternative to be able to incline our mind, our heart to that which is peaceful, cool, clear. That's a much more viable alternative. So in our practice, we're just learning how to pay attention to just the fundamentals of our experience, this body, this mind, and to be able to both learn from it, but also to teach it or train it, and that's the opportunity that we have. Particularly in, of course, the Buddhist path is comprehensive in the sense of a training in in our actions of body and speech, in terms of integrity, virtue, having a foundation in moral clarity, training the training the mind to be alert, present, aware, attentive, and cultivating the foundations of both mindfulness and tranquility. Then also a training in discernment, how to apply the mind so that it is reflective, investigative, and discerning. So as we continue this training, of course, in our formal practice of meditation is one part of it, and I'll probably focus on that this afternoon. As we say, sitting in meditation, to be bringing attention to training this body and mind, bring attention to the body, the experience of the body, having an anchor in the experience of this physical body, its posture, the elements that it's composed of, so that and there's a certain solidity that's very helpful, because the mind can be can flit here, flit there, without much resistance, without much gravity holding it down. The body is just by nature, it's gravity is holding us in our place, and then we can pay attention to that and help that, allow it to help our mind, help our heart to be settled as well, having a solid anchor in our experience. So as we begin a meditation, to be attentive to the experience of the posture, of the breath as it comes in, as it goes out, and that just being comfortable with the breath, being comfortable in the body, allowing when we speak of the breath, of course it's physically we're breathing in, breathing out all the time, but also there's a certain sense of the breath being both a kind of a breath energy, kind of a life force. I mean, we are alive because we breathe in and we breathe out again. It's we breathe in and don't breathe out, then that's kind of it. That's the end of this lifespan. So we exist dependent on the breath coming in, the breath going out, and it's but it's also a certain there's a kind of breath energy, a kind of a life to it that we can direct to our experience of the body, because we can feel, we experience our physically we can feel maybe some pain, some discomfort, or we can feel some constriction, some tightening, and we can bring that kind of breath energy to that. We breathe into feelings of discomfort, and we can allow it to soften, to settle. We can allow the breath to be a force for, say, expansion, that expanding our feeling of either because sometimes expanding our sense of self, expanding an emotion so that it has a positive emotion. We can expand it through the just breathing in, breathing out, letting the breath be a force for expansion. It's just, these are ways that we can be working with our experience so that it's body, mind working together, and learning from that. How do we learn so that we can experience this present moment and this life in a way that is skillful, is wholesome, is beneficial, is inclining to well-being and to happiness. It's a natural wish or desire, need to experience this sense of well-being, of happiness. Even though the central, one of the most central teachings that the Buddha gives is the Four Noble Truths, and the Buddha points to the noble truth of dukkha. Dukkha being, of course, its cause, cessation, path leading to cessation. Noble truth of dukkha. Dukkha being suffering, dissatisfaction, discontent, dis-ease, stress. And it's that's not say like a teaching on ultimate truth. We say if ultimate truth were where everything is dukkha, then that'd be a problem. But what the Buddha is doing is, in terms of, it's a universal truth in that dukkha is something that we're naturally motivated to try to transform, to understand, to free ourselves from, free the heart from. So that the Buddha picks that as pay attention to this. It's really important. Because the inclination, of course, is to shrink away from it, try to get away from it, deal with it later. And that, can't we talk about something more pleasant, And then, but if it's not sort of brought up and reflected on and understood, then we never really transcend it. We never really are afraid it has power over us. That, but that doesn't mean we sit around and try to find as much dukkha as possible to pile on ourselves. It's more like, how do we use it as a mirror so that we can understand things that are of a problematic nature? How do we lift up that which helps the mind, the heart to be bright, to be clear, to have this sense of security and well-being? Because that's really what we're both seeking for, but also what we need. And in order to do that, there's this element we have to, in practicing and training the heart, and the mind, working with this body-mind complex, the Buddha gave many tools, many approaches, because it isn't as if the Buddha just saw that there's just this one way to deal with it. There's many different skillful means that the Buddha gave, and in particular, in terms of meditation. Of course, one of the most common teachings that he gave was the mindfulness of breathing, and but that's sort of like a basic template for working with what we have. We've got this body, we're breathing, and we have this mind that can be aware and alert, so that we can use that. And then, in terms of balancing the fact, so many of the teachings of the Buddha are about balance, about getting things just right, just in the same, like the Buddha's path, right from his very first teaching that he gave to the say the 5 ascetics shortly after his own awakening, his own enlightenment. He himself spoke of it as a middle way, and the middle way isn't that you take whatever extremes there are, split the difference, and then call it a wash. I mean, it's a middle way is a place of balance. It's a point of balance, and that's something that we have to learn for ourselves. That's what we have to figure out for ourselves. And the Buddha gives guidance, he gives teachings, he gives encouragement, but in the end, we have to practice with it and figure out what is a balance that works for us. And this is when we one of the characteristics of the Buddha's teachings, and we in the chanting that we did before the meditation, one of the words that he uses to describe his Dhamma, his teaching, is openaiko, which means leading inwards. It's a teaching that leads inwards, and we also have to draw it inwards, and drawing it into the heart, so that we experience it for ourselves, reflect, investigate, understand, realize for ourselves. What is this? What is a balance? What is and for of course, it's helpful to say, well, what does how can you even tell if something is balanced? And what does the Buddha mean by balance? And because the way that the Buddha described, say, the results in practice, that for one to know for oneself is one, say, is one progressing, is one falling away from the purpose of the teachings, is that, and is to pay attention to the quality of one's experience, in the sense that the qualities that arise are wholesome qualities, skillful qualities increasing, and unwholesome qualities, unskillful qualities decreasing. And if that's the case, then okay, it's going in the right direction. That is a balance that is going to bear fruit. Of course, the opposite is true as well. So we have to pay attention and reflect for ourselves, see for ourselves what's coming up. Yes. sometimes we can, you see some practitioners, or we see it in ourselves, where we're getting more anxious, more irritated, and okay, those are signs. Okay, there's something not in balance, or something that isn't lining up with Dhamma there, and we come back and start again. It's not a problem. It's like Suzuki Roshi's description of Dhamma practice as one mistake after another, and it's fine, because oftentimes we're so worried about about getting it right that it's more of a conceptual thing, and you realize now you have to put it into practice and see what happens, and then adjust and try. I'm always willing to be attentive to that sense of balance, and of course that actually takes a lot of humility, and it's very much a part of our Dhamma practice, is that there's a humility that's required, and there's a humility that results from that, from our practice, that because you just can't carry a whole lot of baggage of me into the practice, and you can't take it with you either. So it's wonderfully freeing, but the result is this quality of a certain humility and ease. The one of Ajahn Chah's refrains in his teaching about practice in general, about meditation in particular, was how important it was to pay attention to this quality of balance. And the word that Ajahn Chah would use, which is padi, which is sort of like, that's just right. It's this quality of just right, just enough. And that is, and really, I think as human beings, it's really hard to just get that just right, just enough quality, and but it's absolutely worth the effort we put into it. And in the, of course, as I say, the Buddha gave many different practices, many different methods of meditation, methods of mental cultivation, and there's a set of teachings that the Buddha gave, which I feel are quite important to remember or to bring to mind, and they're called the protective meditations, and they're interesting. There are 4 different meditations, and again, the theme is balance, so that 2 of the meditations are like uplifting kind of themes, and 2 of them are kind of maybe more sobering meditations. But learning how to use them, learning how to apply them, learning how to bring them up at the proper time, so that they are protective meditations for us. They tend to protect our well-being, protect our clarity, protect the, the the quality of the heart that is really bright and clear. So that first meditation that the Buddha points to is actually recollection of the Buddha. So that bringing to mind. And these are all can be applied with a backdrop of the mindfulness of breathing practice, a meditation practice, a mindfulness practice. But then it's like picking up another theme. Excuse me. It's like picking up another theme to help supplement the approach, or the application. So lifting up the recollection of the Buddha, and even this, there can be many different ways of applying it. Just the bringing to mind the qualities of the Buddha, both as a historical figure as well as an archetype, in the sense of the Buddha always is seen as an embodiment of the qualities of wisdom, of purity, of compassion. And those are qualities that we can both emulate and try to internalize for ourselves. And that's an important reminder in terms of what we're trying to lift up into the heart, or bringing to mind other qualities that we sometimes use as a part of our recollection, where the Buddha being a teacher of gods and humans, in a sense, and so realize, the Buddha was able to teach all these beings, and teaching those who can be trained. And they said, well, yeah, I'm one of those, and it's just encouraging ourselves that the Buddha's reminding ourselves that the Buddha is teaching us. It's not a teaching for that doesn't include us. Another quality that when we do the chanting, a recollection of the Buddha, one of the things that always resonated with me, the Vichacharana Sampanno, sort of the Buddha being is it perfect? Is that impeccable? Yeah, impeccable in impeccable, complete in knowledge and conduct, and that where knowledge and conduct again are balanced and they're working together, they're functioning together. There's an impeccable quality to it, and where even a Buddha being for there's no exceptions for an enlightened being to not be impeccable in their conduct. It's just it's sort of like, now I'm a Buddha, I don't have to bother. And that's really not the case. It's even more clear just how skilled, impeccable the conduct is, and the knowledge is informing that. So that it's just this recollection bringing to mind. It's and those are maybe like conceptual reflections, and one can pick up, say, recollection of the Buddha in a say, in a very devotional way, picking up say, like using a visualization of a particular Buddha image that one finds soothing, settling, inspiring, and doing it as a devotional exercise of visualization, bringing to mind, and cultivating that. These are uplifting exercises, the object of the Buddha, and that's why I'm very grateful to the Ajahn Achalo, is a monk in Thailand, who oversaw the carving of our image in the hall here, and he was very he really wanted Abhayagiri to have a beautiful, calm presence of the Buddha in our hall, and so much so that it had to be done 3 times. So that it didn't. First one, no, that doesn't work. And second one, no, that really doesn't work. And this is, you can't just sort of take when you got 3,000 pounds of stone, you can't just sort of take your mouse and click on it, sort of, do a little rub out here and there or something. You start from scratch. You got to find another huge boulder, sandstone. That's what it's made from. So, but I'm very, very grateful, because it. I think it's important to have these visual images that we can bring to mind and cultivate a heart connection of devotion to something. It's something that as there's I think the relationship that in terms of the West that culturally we mostly have is more of an intellectual connection, and I think it's important to realize the power of devotion as well, and to recognize that it has its place, and to learn how to use it. Again, it's this aspect of balance. How do we get a balance that helps the heart to free itself from dukkha, and that recollection of the Buddha is a helpful tool. It's one of the things in our toolbox. And it's like, say, as meditators or as practitioners, and it's like any skill set. You've got to have a certain number of tools to do a decent job, and if you're an electrician or a carpenter or whatever, you have a range of tools that you can work with, and you can do a good job. And so, as meditators and practitioners, it's helpful to have tools on our tool belt, and show up at our meditation practice and be ready to try different tools out and get some skill at how to use them. The other, in terms of these 4 protective meditations, that is on the uplifting side. The other one is the loving kindness, metta, bhavana, the cultivation of loving kindness, and and lifting the heart to a quality of metta in terms of this very sincere wish for the well-being and happiness, both of ourselves as well as others, and really planting that seed within our heart and allowing it to grow, allowing it to take root in the heart, and that sense of being that's a really helpful tool for being able to drop the tendencies to negativity or discrimination, or to constantly evaluating and assessing, and because that gets tiresome sometimes. It doesn't mean there isn't a place for that, but it gets tiresome. So that to be able to lift the heart up, or allow the heart to incline to this sense of well-wishing, again, both to oneself and to others, and allowing that wish for well-being, the wish for happiness, to gain momentum in the heart, and it's especially interesting, like you, breathing in, breathing out. This sense of breathing in, a sense of well-being for oneself, breathing out, well-being for others. And it's just as an option that so often we don't take, and it in terms of balancing and bringing the heart to a place of a just right quality. It's a very important quality, because especially if the tendency is tendencies coming up of say aversion, ill will, critical nature coming up, then you just sort of just to see that, and if you just try to push it away, that's usually done with aversion. It's like there's this thought of ill will come up, and you say, "Yeah, I don't, get out of there, go away." And it's much better responded to by directing attention to this quality of well-being, realizing that something may be true, but it's not useful. It oppresses the heart, and then sort of consciously lifting up the qualities of well-being, so that these are ways of directing attention that help protect the heart. The other qualities, which say the two meditations, which I say are more on the sobering side, are contemplation of the body, a very direct contemplation of the asubha, the non-attractive nature of the body. Hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, skin, the flesh, sinews, bones, internal organs, various fluids that are washing around inside and oozing out outside. Those are, you sort of bring them to mind. That's hard to work up a lot of say, desire, attachment, lust, sensual craving. So it helps to temper that because the nature of say desire is very selective, It can forget all sorts of things. Just get me what I want, and it doesn't usually doesn't use a whole lot of discernment and reflectivity, but so that being able to consciously bring to mind the nature of the physical body. Here we are within these 32 parts, and they're without them. It's really tough to practice. I mean, there's a certain gratitude for them, but they're not the most sort of attractive thing that you'd want to take out and share with people. And so that and just to remind myself that and again, I think one of the things is again, like coming back to a theme that I had before, the sense of humility that comes up. See things in their true nature. It's not that it's a source of either of aversion or attraction. It's more like, oh, there's the whole picture, and there's this quality of kind of humility and ease that naturally arises, so that it's meant to be, say, a sobering recollection of the body, but there are times when we need to settle things down. How do we, and to approach our experience in a way where the mind isn't getting hooked into that tendency to proliferate around desire, because it's the way we're used to. It's very ordinary, but it isn't how we have to function. We come from a place of clarity and ease. So the last one is a contemplations of death, and again, it's a sobering quality, and that we that sense of that reality of we live within a very finite realm of the life of this body and mind, and to put it to good use, to not get lost, not get sidetracked, and not get say overwhelmed by in any way, shape, or form, and to be grounded in reality, in truth, like the for somebody like say like Woody Allen has made a whole career around his neuroses around death, and then it's like somebody said, so he was being interviewed, and because his body of work is incredible over so long, decades and decades, and somebody's asking him, does it feel good to be that you're approaching toward the end of your life, and you're going to live on the silver screen and cinema and history, and he's, well, I'd rather live on in my apartment, Or there was another time he was asked, so, sort of use, something to be seeking immortality in your, through your artistic works. He said, I'd rather achieve immortality through not dying. So, and I think he's expressing what what's quite natural, what we all feel, even though it's not real, or possible. And so then that lifting up in the mind of, okay, what accords with truth, and of course, death is part of the package, and being able to bring that, and it does have a sobering quality, but it's also, okay, keep on task, keep clear, don't get lost, don't get sidetracked. We've got this opportunity to be have these teachings, this practice, and, really develop the skills to make the most of them, make the best of them. And again, that's why these are protective meditations. They're protecting us from ourselves, really. In a sense, they're helping to guide us and keep us on track, so that the opportunity to cultivate these practices, and they're all for fostering the quality of awareness, attention, mindfulness, clarity, a sense of stability and ease. And as the more we cultivate that, that's really what makes the mind, the heart, happy. In that sense of, because oftentimes we think of happiness as you get what you want, or you have some kind of special experience, but the ability to be clear and still within, and just really serene within the experience of having a body, having a mind, living in the world, that is what is accessible to us. I'll offer that for reflection this afternoon.